Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 12 new Halloween DIYs and finds, and I'm using supplies from the Dollar Tree. I have lots of new ideas, and I really hope you enjoy today's video. For the first DIY, I want to build a custom Halloween tier tray. So I'm going to be using one of the black chargers from the Dollar Tree. We're going to use that upside down as the brim of a witch's hat. I want to design a tier tray that looks like a witch's hat. I thought that would be perfect because it kind of goes with the shape of a tier tray, right? When they're smaller at the top. So I'm going to be using the little wood circles from the Dollar Tree. You get 3 in a package, and I picked up 2 packages. I'm going to be using the larger circles and the medium-sized circles. And the reason I'm using 2 is because they're rather thin. And I want it to be a chunky tier tray, and they're just too thin for a tier tray. So I'm going to sandwich the little cube-shaped wood beads in between to make them a thicker piece of wood and make it much more substantial. And I'm going to custom make this to go inside the witch hat we're going to DIY, and it's going to be open in the front. I thought that'd be a really fun idea. So what I'm doing is just hot gluing the wood beads down. I like to use the cube shape if I can, just because they're flat. They're going to glue better together to the top and the bottom of this riser. And this is about how far one package goes. They're not very long. If you could only find the circle ones, they will work too. I've done that when I made like the watermelon tier tray. It turned out pretty cute too. I think I used circles on that one. And so I'm just going to start another piece here. They are kind of tied off at the end. I'm just kind of leaving them tied off and gluing it so you can't see the string. And this one worked out pretty well for spacing. And I hot glue that one on, and I just left them strung together. It just makes it a little bit sturdier too. Now that I have the bottom of that tier done, I can go over it very quickly with some hot glue so it doesn't set up. And I also did a wood cube in the middle. And then I set my next wood circle on top, making the bottom tier. See how it's nice and chunky now? I really like that. So we're going to do the same thing here for the top tier, taking another one of the wood bead garlands. So I used a total of 3 of these chunky wood ones, and I'm going to glue these along too. And I'm just kind of gluing them where they will kind of line up towards the outside of the wood circle. This one did not work out on spacing as well as the top one, but I'm just going to kind of make it work. I went all the way around here, making sure all of the individual cubes are glued down for sure with my hot glue, and glued it, cutting it off right about here. Now I noticed I had like kind of a significant gap there. And so what I did was just took a couple of them back off and spaced them out a little bit so I don't have like a big gap in between any two. And that seemed to work out. I'm going to go ahead and do another wood cube in the circle and then put hot glue over everything. And then I can lay my next wood circle on top. I'm really glad Dollar Tree started carrying these wood circles. I'm always looking for different shapes and sizes of the circle for sure. And then for the tier, we're using a plunger from the Dollar Tree because I wanted the wood dowel from it, from the handle. So I just simply took the plunger off. They do usually have pretty sticky tags on here. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And the wood types are totally different, but I'm going to stain this so it's going to make it all match. But I thought this would be great between the tiers. I'm not going to drill a hole or anything in them and put it through everything. I'm going to cut it into individual pieces. Now to stain it, I'm going to use just Antique Wax by Waverly. I get this at Walmart, really cheap, really quick, easy way to stain. You don't really have to wait for that drying process like you do with a regular stain. And I just went over the top of my tier. Now the sides were a little bit more tricky, especially using a sponge like that. You really have to get a brush to get down in between the individual wood cube beads there with the stain. And so I kind of go back and forth with the sponge and the brush, but the brush definitely worked better for the edges. And this is going to be the bottom tier of the witch's tier tray that we're going to attach directly to that upside down charger. Now the charger, it doesn't really matter what color you get, I guess, because I think they're usually black on the bottom. So I think any of them would work if you have one of those already. And I ended up covering them with material anyway, so I guess it really doesn't really matter at all. But I did want the inside of my tier tray to be a stained wood. I love like the look of black with like a stained wood for Halloween. I think it looks really classy. Now I did go ahead and stain the bottom as well with the Antique Wax by Waverly, just to make it more of a finished product. And then I went ahead and stained the top here as well, going in with the individual wood pieces, staining those as well. And this is just so easy. You just put it on if you haven't used it before and just use a paper towel to wipe it off. It's my absolute favorite for staining. I never ever use wood stain. It's just so much simpler and a lot less fumes too. So I went ahead and stained both sides of this one too. This is going to be the top tier of our tier tray. And I'm also going to have like the pole go up further for the top of the witch's hat. In my mind, I was thinking I could almost put a third tier on there, but it would be just completely pointless because it would be so skinny at the top. And so it's just going to have the pole at the top. Now, this is the pole that I also stained. I took it to the saw and cut it down. Now, originally I cut it down into two pieces that were the same, so I was going to try that out. And it doesn't really work. It works for the top piece being long, but I needed the middle piece between the trays to be shorter. So I cut that down a couple of inches, and that works way better like that. Now to find the center of my tier tray, I just measure it halfway here, one side and the other to find the true center. I'm just going to mark that with a little Sharpie, and then I'm going to do the same thing, measuring and finding the center here for the top. Now I'm going to need to know the center of the top and the bottom for this one because I told you it's going to have a pole come up the top of it too. Now to attach it, initially I attached it with a little bit of hot glue. I did not think that that was going to be stable enough for a tier tray, so I decided to get a little bit of hardware involved. I didn't want to be drilling holes and screws and stuff like that, so I'm just going to stabilize it with a long nail. These are the nails from the Dollar Tree, so I went ahead and found the center here of the bottom as well, and I'm just going to drive a nail into it, and it made it so much sturdier. The only trick to this is you really need to find the center, and you need to make sure that your nail is going straight down because you don't want it to come out the side of the plunger handle. But that worked so well. So I'm going to put some hot glue here on the top, and then lining up with that center of the top circle, I hot glued that one on too. And the nail worked so well for the bottom, I'm going to use that for the top too. So I just took another nail and carefully nailed that down into the wood plunger handle there, or wood dowel. And this part is super sturdy. So this is what it looks like so far, our little tier tray. Now for the top one, I can't really do a nail because I already have stuff on the other side, but this is just going to be kind of a top beam, so it doesn't need to be super strong. So I just attached that part of it with hot glue, and this is the structure we have, which is also the structure of like a witch's hat. So perfect. I went ahead and glued it to the bottom of the charger here. I end up covering the charger with material, and I do end up having to remove it. But at this point, I thought I was just going to leave it black, but I ended up covering it with the same material I used to make the witch's hat, which is these little black placemats from the Dollar Tree. Initially, I thought about using creepy cloth, but I didn't really like that look. So I picked up 3 of these black placemats. These are just from the kitchen section at the Dollar Tree right now. And I'm going to use this material to cover it. And I think it's going to look really cool. It's got a cool kind of pattern on there, but it's not that see-through. So I think it's going to look cool for a witch's hat. So I'm going to take half of it, keeping it upright like this. And I start by hot gluing the corner to the top of the wood dowel. And it's a perfect height. Look at that. I didn't even measure. I love when things work out like that. And I went ahead and hot glued it to the bottom. Now, a little tricky here, when I wrap it around to the bottom, I do have a little corner of material that I can trim off. My camera didn't really know where to focus at this point because this project was so tall. It's like right next to my camera. And then I also cut off another triangle of fabric so it has like a straight line down the back. For stability, I used my staple gun to staple it to the top. And I'm also going to staple it here to the bottom tier. I used hot glue in the front because I didn't want there to be any visible staples, but the staples were definitely sturdier. So I'm glad I was able to do that on the back, and I can hide it back there. So I have half of my witch's hat because I want the front of my witch's hat to be open like this so you can see all the cute things on the tier tray. So on the other side, I did the same thing. I just hot glued the corner there to the top pole and then came down and hot glued it here to the front. And turning it around, I need a seam for the back. I want it to overlap slightly, and so I go in and I cut off that corner there at the bottom to make it smooth with the bottom of my tier tray. And I went ahead and stapled that in place and then cut off my other triangle here in the back. So I have a straight line and you can see my seam there in the back. It's going to slightly overlap maybe by like an inch or so. I went ahead and stapled that to my middle tier like that. So that's what the back of my tray looks like at this point. I gather it together and I'm also going to simply staple it there to the wood pole, kind of cutting off some of the excess material there to give it that pointy tip for the witch's hat. And I'm going to trim it down a little bit more just to clean it up. And I think it's looking really cool. It's exactly what I envisioned. But then I was like, I think the brim of the witch's hat needs to be the same material. So I'm going to go in with my third placemat and cover that with that. It is a little bit smaller than the chargers from the Dollar Tree. So I am going to have to piece it together. It will only cover about this much. But I just went ahead and removed the tier tray and I'm going to simply hot glue this directly onto the charger. So that's why it doesn't really matter which charger you get. I thought about using a pizza pan too, but the charger was the perfect size, especially using those wood circles from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going around and gluing that just around the outer edges, the brim of it, like that before I cut it down to size. That way I can kind of cut it down perfectly. I had a little bit of excess material here, but it was not enough to cover the rest of the tray. But I did have these triangles that I cut off earlier that I can use to kind of fill in the back, and my seam will be on the back, so it won't be super obvious. So let me cut this into like a little bit of a straighter line. And we can slightly overlap this, and I'm going to hot glue this one onto so that all of the little charger is covered by that same material that we used to make the witch's hat. And I'm really glad that I went back and did the brim of the hat in the same material. It just makes it so much more cohesive. Now that I have everything glued on, I'm just going to trim off the excess material going all the way around here. I love crafting with these chargers from the Dollar Tree. I do it a lot. They're so easy to make things with. And then I'm going to hot glue the tier tray back in place so it's all one piece. I hot glue on that bottom wood shelf like that. And then I overlapped this from the back to the front. I think it would look a little bit better if I overlapped it front to back. So I just trimmed it down as thin as I could because I don't want you to be able to see that seam. And I kind of changed the direction of the overlap and it made it blend in a little bit more from the front. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here from the other side. And we have this really fun witch hat tier tray. I really love how it looks. And I'm also going to show you how I go about decorating this little Halloween tier tray too. But first, let me give you a little preview of how our witch's hat tier tray turned out. A custom tier tray. I got really lucky that mine was exactly the same height as the placemat. If you're going to use the placemats too for your fabric, you might want to go ahead and measure so you cut your wood dowel, the plunger handle down to the perfect size. But I think it looks really cool so far. What do you guys think? Now to decorate it, we're going to use some potions I thought would be fun with the witch hat theme. So I picked up these little glass flasks at the Halloween section at the Dollar Tree. And I thought we would just fill these up with maybe some colored water. I thought that'd be really easy. So I just take a little craft funnel and I put a little bit of water in here. I always like to keep food coloring like in my crafting stash. So I have some from the Dollar Tree that's probably way expired, but it works great for crafting. I think I'll do one in green. I just do a dot of green food coloring in the water. And then I was thinking purple with the other one. So I did like a drop of blue and a drop of red. Might have been a little bit too much food coloring for this tiny bit because it did turn really dark, but it definitely looks creepy. They're super small, so I don't think they need labels or anything. I just like the colors of the potions. The green one I think turned out really cool. So I'm going to do the little purple one here on the top shelf and the green one next to it. Dollar Tree also has these little mini potion bottles that you can get. I think there's like 4 in a package and they're already like tinted. So I just put plain water in there And I'm just going to use one of those in combination. And it says witch's brew on there, so that goes perfectly with the witch hat theme. And I add that to the potions. The other thing I found at Dollar General, these were $3 and you get three, so only $1 a piece. These cute little ghosts, I'm going to choose the witch one. I think that's going to be perfect for the witch hat, and that's going to look really cute on the top shelf combined with the potions. And really, I think that's all we need up here at the top. That's really all that we have room that you can see well. And so I am going to move on to the bottom tier. I picked up a little plastic cauldron from the Dollar Tree, just a cheap one, and put a little bit of polyfill in there to make it look like there's a potion brewing. A very simple DIY for something towards the back here that you're not really going to be able to tell that it's just plastic. But I think it looks really cute. The next item for the tier tray I'm going to use is a little Halloween candle that I got. This is really cool. It's like color changing, and it's got skulls all over one side, spiders on the other. It's just white plastic though. So I decided just to distress mine with a little bit of brown paint. I think this is burnt umber, maybe that color. And I just distressed all of the skulls and the web, the spider web on there, so that you can see some more of the details and make it kind of look older and creepier. But I don't want to get any on like that little glittery thing that covers the inside of the candle, but it was pretty easy to keep it off of that. I like the way that looked, so I went ahead and distressed the front, and I'm also going to distress like the spiders here on the back of it. And we'll have a fun color changing candle to add to the tier tray. It's the perfect scale. See how it changes colors? I think that's going to make it look really creepy, and I love things that light up for Halloween. We're going to have a lot of projects today that light up for Halloween. I'm going to place that over to the left side of my witch's hat tier tray. And next item is one of the little skeletons from the Dollar Tree. This one's like covering its face, and I think it looks like it's in distress, and I'm going to finish off the tier tray with that. Turning on the candle, you can see how it changes colors. It's really creepy and fun. And let me show you how my witch's hat tier tray turned out. I'm really glad I was able to pull it off. I had this idea and I was like, what on earth can I use for the fabric for the sides? I even went to Walmart's craft section. They did a remodel at my store, and you cannot buy like fabric that's cut anymore. And Joann's went out of business too. So I was like, oh my gosh, I definitely have to find something at Dollar Tree that I can use to make a witch's hat, because I cannot find a witch's hat, like an adult witch's hat to craft with at all. Every store, nobody had them. Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I would really appreciate it if you would also hype this video. For this DIY, what I want to do is I want to make a cool Halloween mirror. I'm going to combine a mirror from the Dollar Tree with a charger I got at Dollar General. These are in their fall section and they look like wood. They're $2, and right now at my Dollar General, they had them buy one, get one half off. But I thought it would look really pretty for a wood frame for the mirror. Now to make a hanger, I'm just going to use a paper clip and a piece of fabric here to make a simple hanger for the back of it. You can kind of bend it slightly. It makes a perfect little hanger back there. I attach mine with some hot glue, and I'm also covering it with fabric with hot glue just to kind of reinforce that to make it a little bit stronger. And we have a hanger for the charger. Now for the mirror itself, I wanted to do something fun. I love the fact that this already has a black frame. I think that's perfect for Halloween. I just picked up the round circle mirror, but I want it to look like it's covered with cobwebs. Instead of using the thin webbing though, I'm going to use the macrame cord from the Dollar Tree to give me a really thick spider web. I don't want to cover the entire mirror though. If you wanted to, you could. That would be really cute too. But I had a plan to cover only part of it. So I kind of went here on the side and went from one side to the other. And then I'm going to crisscross this with an X. And I'm just hot gluing this to the very outside of the frame and cutting off the excess cord like that. Now again, I'm not covering the whole thing, so I only want the right side of it covered with a web. So I do the same thing here with one. I'm not going to continue this one though. I'm going to cut it. I attach it here where they're intersecting with a little dot of hot glue, and then I'm going to do one more over here. This one I glued to the bottom of that, so they're all kind of connected there in the middle, and that is going to be the extent of the webbing. And then to make it look like a spider web, I need to do like the little middle pieces. So I start here on the frame and I hot glue it from web to web, giving that arch shape that you see in a spider web where it kind of goes inward in a little arch shape toward the center of the web. And I did that all the way across here using one piece of the cord for the webbing. The reason I'm not putting the spider web on the left side is because I wanted to do like a little Halloween moon over there. I thought that would be cute, and combining the moonlight and the spider web. So I just glued these all in place so they would keep that great arch shape. Then I'm going to go in here for the very inner ring of the spider web, and I'm hot gluing it to each piece. So since I glued this all to the frame, it's not glued directly to the mirror. It's kind of a 3D vibe, which I like. So I'm just gluing it directly to the cord itself and not to the mirror, but still trying to keep that arch shape if I can with the cord by making it just a little bit longer than it needs to be and kind of bending it like that. For the middle row, I do the same thing. I'm just gluing the cord one piece all the way around, trying to get the arch shape as I go and gluing it to the twine, and again, not to the mirror. Now I get that all on there, and then I want like another web coming down with a spider on it. I'm going to use the little glitter spider clips from the Dollar Tree and just take the clip off the back of it. I think it's the perfect size spider for this, and I like the black glitter. I think that's going to look cool. And then, of course, I'm going to need another piece of the macrame cord for the spider to be hanging on so it looks like it's spinning the web. So it could almost look like a web in process too, since it's not going to be covering the whole thing. I hot glue that to the inside of the spider so it hangs upside down like that. And then I'm going to glue that piece of macrame cord to the center where everything kind of intersected. And this can simply hang down on its own in front of the mirror. Now I got to this point and then I was like, oh yeah, I really wanted to make the mirror look creepy, like with a frosted effect. So it almost looks like it's fogged up, but I don't think it's too late. I just took some of that Rust-Oleum frosted glass and sprayed one coat over the mirror where most of the mirror is covered, but it looks really foggy and creepy because of course I'm not using this for a functional mirror. It's more a decorative piece and it still works. So that was great. The little wood circle came from the 3-pack of the wood circles from the Dollar Tree, and I just painted it ivory for a base coat to make it look like a moon. And then I mixed that together with a little bit of brown to make a tannish color. And using one of those little circle stencil daubers, I did little craters all over our little moon. And it's just going to require really a lot of blending. So I go back in with my original ivory color and I distress that as well. And then I go back in with the tan and do craters. And you want it to look kind of modeled like the surface of the moon. And so I just kind of went back and forth and blending that together also with like a baby wipe so all the colors kind of go together to make it look like a moon. And it's pretty easy to do. Just kind of go back and forth with your colors until you're happy with the craters. I definitely wanted the craters to be visible like that. So I tried to darken them up a little bit. But I think that looks pretty good. We're going to have our moon like completely covered with craters here. And a full moon is creepy. It always reminds me of Halloween, which is one reason why I wanted to do this for the other side of the mirror. And as you can see, I kind of went back and forth with it until I got the exact look I was going for. I think that looks pretty cool. And then we're simply going to hot glue this onto the mirror over here on the other side. So that's kind of in the background of our spider web. Then I thought it'd be really cute to draw a couple little bats flying in front of it. So I just used my black paint pen and did some simple bats here. I always like to work like with odd numbers. So I think I'll do 3 of them here. Little bats flying in front of the full moon for Halloween. And I love how this turned out. So cute so far. It's really cute on its own as a little small mirror. But again, we have the wood charger from Dollar General that we're going to frame it with to make it larger and more substantial. I simply hot glued the frame of the mirror to the charger using hot glue and trying to get that centered there on the wood piece like that. And then to decorate the outside of that black frame, I'm going to use some Spanish moss. I thought it would give it the final creepy vibe. So just here on the inside, I attach hot glue and I glue the Spanish moss on there. This also helped to glue the mirror to the charger too, because I was able to add lots of extra hot glue here, and you won't be able to see it because of the Spanish moss. I'm not going to add anything else to the Spanish moss. I think that that's enough, but I definitely do want you to still be able to see that wood charger. I think that's really pretty. It's different than the one that I've bought at the Dollar Tree before. I really like the rich brown color of it. So I just went around the entire mirror here with the Spanish moss, gluing that into place. And I really love how this turned out. A really fun idea using the macrame cord. You could also use twine. I'm actually going to have a twine spiderweb project coming up later in this video. And either one I think would be really cute. But let me show you how this turned out. I don't know what was going on. My color got a little bit warm there on my camera. But here it is, our little frosted mirror. Here's a little better look of how it turned out with the wood frame, all of the fun little Halloween touches, the spiders, the bats, the spider web. I think it's creepy, but also kind of pretty. Kind of a classy Halloween decor piece. And I really like black and white together for Halloween, but also the touch of wood. I think it makes it look really classy. And that's so fun. I love how that turned out. For this DIY, I have a little ghost here from a ghost sign that you got 3 ghosts from Dollar General. You could also use the ghost signs from the Dollar Tree, the little wood ones. And then I'm going to make a shadow box. I picked up these 7x7 photo frames at Dollar Tree. The reason I chose these is because they're nice and thick. So I thought I could put 2 together and actually DIY a shadow box for Halloween. So what I'm going to do is put them like front to front, and that's how it's going to make the shadow box. So to go ahead and remove the backs, the liners, I am going to be using the glass. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that, but I need to get rid of the staples because they are in the way. So I make sure that I fold them back to their original position before using a pair of pliers to pull them out. That way it doesn't split the wood on the frame. And I'm going to do the same thing here for our second frame. I wanted them to be black, and I did consider painting them, but this sealed wood from the Dollar Tree on these frames is often really hard to paint, so I decided to leave them white. I'll just decorate it with a little black. Since the frame's going to be upside down, I did use a little bit of spackle to put in the staples in the corner and the places where we removed the little metal clips, so that's not super obvious. I also have this sign here. I'd already spackled the bottom of it with a little bit of spackle, the hole that was in the bottom of my ghost, but I also painted it with some white to kind of mask that. I really want you to be able to see the eyes and the mouth of the ghost that's cut out. So I took a little piece of black cardstock and I'm going to attach that to the back of my little ghost that I'm going to suspend and hang down inside my shadow box so it can look like it is floating through the air like a ghost. I'm going to sandwich it in between the two, but I could also fill up the shadow box with some fun Halloween items. Now this one on the right is the one that I filled in with spackle, so I also touched it up with a little bit of paint because that's going to be the front of my shadow box. I add hot glue all along the edges of the frame and reattach the glass, gluing that down. So this is going to be the front of my shadow box, and it's going to have that thick frame that's going to connect to the other thick frame to form the inside of the shadow box. Now to cover the seam and make it look a little bit better, I decided to take some white macrame cord and hot glue that in. That's also going to help glue the glass in since I removed the little clips. And it provides a little fun decorative touch. You could also do this with twine. I think without taking away from the project, the twine would look really good with the black and the white. And so I went ahead and glued that all together. For the back one, I wanted to frost it. Another way you can frost glass really easily is using these little chopping mats from the Dollar Tree. I just took a chopping mat and I'm going to cut it out the same size as the glass. And this is going to be for the back because I want this to be see-through, but I also want to light it up and I want the look to be frosted. I kind of like the way it looks kind of backwards. You can kind of play around which side you put down for your frosted look there with the cutting mat. But I am going to still use the glass. So I hot glued the inside of that frame. This is going to be the back of our shadow box. I glued the glass in, and then I'm also going to glue in the cutting mat there for the frosting. One reason I wanted to do this rather than just frosting it with the spray frosting is because I want to hot glue twinkle lights onto the back. I thought it would be easier to glue it onto the cutting mat than to glue it onto the frosting. So I secured it with a little bit more hot glue. So this is what I'm talking about. Both the fronts are going to be touching together, and that's going to form the shadow box to make it nice and thick. I'm going to have the little ghost hanging down from the top. And then for fun miniatures, you can use the erasers from the Dollar Tree. This is the little eraser black cat, perfect size for the bottom of my shadow box. It's going to fit really well in there. And then I also decided to use some bones from the Dollar Tree, some little plastic ones, and also some skulls that are just some fairy garden decor. and I have those left over. I think I got those at Dollar Tree, if not Dollar Spot. But I updated the colors just by distressing both with some antique white, the skulls and the plastic bones, just to give them more of a bone look. I think they were a little bit darker than I wanted, and I wanted them to match a little bit better. I also kind of updated the eyes with some black paint pen to make sure they're all colored in for the skulls here for the bottom. And these are going to be some fun decor pieces there for the bottom of our shadow box. I think they look way better and they kind of match together now, the same color, and I'm happy with how those turned out. Now, to decorate the bottom, I'm also going to use a little bit of moss. I use some of the brown floral moss from the Dollar Tree. I think you could also use Spanish moss pretty easily. I went ahead and did kind of a bed of them in here, securing it with a little bit of hot glue. Now, if you're going to use lights to light yours up like I did, make sure you do enough of this to cover the battery pack. I did have to pop mine back open to add a little bit more moss because I didn't make it thick enough. But then I'm going to glue my little black cat here onto the bottom of the frame. I'm going to glue my skulls into place. And remember, they can be thicker than the frame because you have the other frame on top, which is also going to form that shadow box look. And then we can do the bones in the middle. I think I have to move my cat over a little bit though, so that I have room for the bones. That one is kind of really long. I want them to look kind of like a pile of bones, something for like a Halloween cemetery look, and I went ahead and piled those on top of each other, attaching those with hot glue. I want my little ghost to hover and hang freely, so I just take the twine from the hanger and I glue that onto the inside of the frame, cutting off the excess string so it doesn't poke out the top. And then we can put it together like that. I think everything's going to fit really nicely. I put hot glue all the way along all the edges of the frame and then quickly add the frame on there. Again, both of them are kind of upside down like that to form that shadow box, and it turned out really well. It will stand up on its own like that, which is a really fun way to display it. Now, I wanted to light mine up, so I'm going to use some battery operated like fairy garden twinkle lights here. These require two AA batteries. I always have plenty of AA batteries for crafting, AAA as well. I get those on Amazon because I use them a lot for crafting. And this is the 10 count lights, and pretty easy. I did add some more moss on the inside of my frame there, as you can see, so that I can hide my battery pack here on the back by gluing that in place. And then I'll be able to easily turn that on and off. I wrap the excess cord around the battery pack, and then I'm going to go around and just glue the individual light bulbs down with a tiny, tiny dot of hot glue. And I want it to be lit up because the ghost is going to be hovering above like our little cemetery scene. I wanted it to almost look like little glowing orbs or spirits around the ghost. So I just kind of want it to be kind of sporadic and kind of wherever they kind of fit, just kind of going back and forth, gluing those onto that frosted cutting mat, which worked out really well. 10 ended up being the perfect amount for a project this size to make it glow, and I think that looks so cute. Now, since I wanted the black frame and I wasn't able to pull that off, I'm going to use a little black creepy cloth and I'm just going to drape that over the frame. I think that's going to look really cute for Halloween. At first, I was just going to do the frame, but I kind of like the way it looks draped over the back since you can see all the way through it. So I'm going to cover the back with it as well. So I just draped over a partial piece I had of the black creepy cloth. And you can get this at Dollar General too. I think it's even cheaper. And then I'm going to leave the back covered, cutting off the excess material and just kind of draping that over, maybe making one side come down a little bit further than the other one, but I didn't want too much excess fabric there. And this is how it turned out, our little ghost shadow box. I love the twinkle light effect. I think it's really cute. This is what it looks like during the daytime with our little shadow box. And if you move it around, the ghost kind of moves and hovers around. But everything else is kind of glued in place here in the bottom because I don't want it to fall over when you're kind of playing around with it like that. So I glued all those pieces in there at the bottom. And then let me show you what it also looks like lit up. I was able to turn all the lights off in my house, but I was actually filming this during the daytime, so it was a little bit of light coming in from my front door. But I think you can kind of get the gist of it, how it looks lit up at night. I think it's super cute. I love the idea of the little ghost hanging down there. And if you don't have the little Dollar Tree ghost sign, again, the little wood ghost signs from the Dollar Tree, the little ornaments, would work really well for that project too. For this DIY, I'm going to take a square jar from the Dollar Tree. These are just from the kitchen aisle. And I wanted to do a spider web jar, something really fun and creepy for my kitchen, something that lights up for Halloween. So I just went ahead and removed the tag from the bottom. And I'm going to do a twine spider web. I thought it would give me a totally different look if I used twine instead of something white to do the spider web. And I thought the square would work out well because I could cover the front and the back with a spider web. So I just glued the twine corner to corner like that, wrap that around the jar lid, and we're going to do the opposite here on the other side, corner to corner, and cut off the excess twine. So I have going to do both of them at the same time if I can. Now I go to the opposite corner, I glue that on to the very bottom, glue that onto the corner here, and just reverse of what I did before, I wrapped that around, attaching it to the corner of this one with some hot glue and the other corner. So I have an X now on both sides of my jar. And we're going to do the front and the back with spider webs, but not the sides. So I also go top to bottom. And instead of cutting it, I just kind of wrap that around because we're also going to wrap the top of it with twine to avoid having to cut it too much. And I went ahead and did the other side too, going from top to bottom there with my web. And then I need one more to go kind of side to side. This one can go all the way around the jar. I start right there by gluing it to the center, wrapping that around, gluing it to the center on the other side, and wrapping it again to finish off the structure of the twine spider web. So this is what it looks like at this point. Now to do the interior sections, I'm going to start here with the closest one. And I'm going to hot glue that to the jar and to the twine itself, trying to get that arch shape of a spider web as I go all the way around the inside of it. We're going to be filling this with some fun, creepy items like skulls and Spanish moss as well. So when we light it up, it will look really creepy with the spider web, but it's also going to look really creepy with the stuff inside of it. Now I went ahead and did another row here of my webbing. Again, trying to arch it if I can. I do like that not all of my lines are evenly spaced. It makes the web look a little bit more natural. And I glued that all the way around for a second row. I really like how it looks with two. I think that's enough rows. So I turned it around and I'm going to do the same thing here on the back of it. So it's going to be a jar that you can kind of see from multiple directions. It's still going to look really cool. And I think this is the first time I've ever done a twine spider web. I really like the look of it, the vibe of it. I think it's kind of a fun thing to do. So I went here with my second row and did another row of webbing, and it is completely covered now. But I do want to do the jar lid too. Since I'm lighting it up with twinkle lights, I need to leave the lid off of the jar. So I don't want you to be able to see the screw on part of the jar. So I just glued on some more twine and simply wrapped it with twine until it is completely covered. And that's going to give it a fun decorative look here too for the top of the jar. And this is what it looks like so far. I think it's really cute. Now for the lights, I wanted to do the larger one, the 30 count string lights from the Dollar Tree. And I got these from like the hardware section or like, I guess like the flashlight section at the Dollar Tree. And there's 30 of them on here. They are the white, yellow, white lights. They're very hard to unwind. You really have to take your time unwinding these. I unwound about half of mine by simply going through, and then I went the battery pack through it a couple of times. The reason I'm showing you this is because I've had to throw these away before because they got so tangled. You have to be very careful unwinding them because, again, 30 count, it's very long. They do run on 2 AA batteries. I went ahead and popped those in there. The reason I wanted to use the 30 count instead of the 10 is because I want this to be a light display for my kitchen counter, so I want there to be lots of light. Now to fill up the jar itself, I'm going to use Spanish moss. I either get the Spanish moss at Walmart or Amazon anymore because I can't find it at Dollar Tree anymore. And I just wrap some of the lights around the Spanish moss, filling that in. I want to add a couple of the little Dollar Tree plastic skulls. So I go ahead and add one there to the bottom. It's going to look creepy inside there. And cover it up with more of the moss and the lights. I just kind of cut off a section of Spanish moss, add that, add twinkle lights, and kind of keep going back and forth. I'm also going to do another skull about halfway up here, kind of pointing out the other direction. But I really think that's all the skulls I'm going to need in there. You'll be able to see those through the spider web. And I just continue to add the Spanish moss and the lights. And as you can see, the 30 count light goes really far. I'm not going to hide the battery pack inside there. I'm going to actually just hide that behind the jar. Something simple where I can turn it on and off, but you won't be able to see it through all of that Spanish moss and everything. Now we did the spider web, but we still need to do a spider. I'm going to do one of the little black spider clips from the Dollar Tree, just removing the spider from the clip itself. And we can glue this onto our spider web to finish this off. This was such an easy DIY and it really looks so cool lit up at night. I think it's going to look so cute in my kitchen for Halloween decor because Halloween's one of those fun holidays where you can decorate all of your rooms. And this is how it turned out. This is what it looks like turned on, but like during the day with the lights on. Very cute. I love the idea of the twine spider web, but as you can see those little skulls through the spider web. That's why I wanted to decorate the inside of the jar too. And with the lights off, this is what it looks like all lit up. Definitely lots of lights on that 30 count. They also have like a multicolor of that one if you want to pick some of those up for Christmas. I think they're going to be really fun and versatile for DIYs because sometimes 10 of the lights is definitely not enough. So again, this is what it looks like during the day with the lights on, but lit up. And then this is what it looks like lit up at night. Such a fun DIY. I love how that turned out. For this Halloween DIY, I picked up a glass vase. I actually got this half price at the Salvation Army, but it's the same one they have at the Dollar Tree. And then from the Dollar Tree, I picked up one of these battery operated hanging lights for the top of the vase. It has twinkle lights inside of a light bulb. I just went ahead and removed the metal hanger because I don't need that, and I removed the light bulb, and then I just have twinkle lights to decorate the inside of the vase. I picked up these little Halloween tree ornaments from the Dollar Tree of little black bats, and I thought we could suspend these inside the vase to make it look like they're flying, and then we can use the lights from that light for the top of the vase. I thought that'd be a really fun effect, and it gives me something to tie the ornaments to. There are 3 bats in the package, but my vase is really only big enough for 2, so I'm only going to be able to use 2. I do go ahead and use the ornament hangers they came with, just tying those onto them so I can make it look like it is flying. You could also use fishing line if you wanted it to be completely invisible, but I kind of like this silver glitter feel. I think that looks cute for Halloween. So I'm going to hang it down inside the vase like that. So let me go ahead and tie up this second one as well. I just simply tie it to the ornament hanger and leave one string like that. So I'm going to need to hang them at different heights to make this work, to make it look like they are flying inside the vase. So I just take some hot glue on the inside here, or the outside, I guess, of that plastic circle on the inside and kind of test it to see how long that is and how long I need to hang the other one to kind of stagger those in there. And then I'm going to add some more hot glue and glue the other bat on the other side. So one bat is hanging from one side of it, and the other bat is hanging from the other side of that little plastic circle on the inside of this light. The fact that it's black already works perfect for Halloween like that. And I can dangle those down inside the vase. So just testing that out to make sure that I got that right. It looks good. You can turn the bats so your faces go the same direction. Now to fill up the vase itself, I'm going to do something really easy. I just did a little bit of brown floral moss from the Dollar Tree, but not too much. And I'm going to use some of the Halloween fairy garden items to decorate. I thought maybe this little witch's cauldron that says beware would be cute down there. So I'm going to glue that into place, which is one reason why I didn't want to use too much of the floral moss, because I want to be able to glue that to the bottom of the vase like that so it won't fall over. And then I think I'll use a little black cat with the little witch's hat. I think that would be cute down there underneath the bats. So I hot glued that in place as well. Really easy. This DIY was so easy to do. We have the twinkle lights already. They kind of glow like a blue light, which is almost like a bluish purple light, which is perfect for Halloween. I just put that down inside the vase and hang my bats like that. And I can attach it with hot glue. You don't have to attach it with hot glue, but I went ahead and did that just to kind of tack it down and glue the little light on the top. I didn't like the fact that the plastic on the top was white and made it really obvious against the black. So I just went ahead and painted that part too. And that doesn't interfere with the switch or anything like that on the top to turn it on and off. But a very simple vase DIY. I love the fact that it lights up for Halloween. I love a good light up project. I had a way to make my little bats fly inside of it by stringing some of the little ornaments up. They have some really cute little goofy faces on them. We have our little black cat, our little beware sign there in the bottom of the vase too. So kind of a nice large project. Let me show you what it looks like lit up at night too. Very simple way to get the twinkle lights. They are definitely inside that little light bulb on these. And I think these come in like silver, gold, black, maybe white. I'm not sure of the little lights from the Dollar Tree. And I just found those like in like the battery operated candle aisle at my Dollar Tree. But I think this DIY turned out really cute for Halloween. What do you think? For this Halloween DIY, I picked up this sign from the Dollar Tree. It is a house and it has a stand on it. You know, a lot of these Halloween products from the Dollar Tree say $1.25 on them, and they're charging you $1.50, which Dollar Tree can probably get in trouble for that. Kind of false advertising, right? But I went ahead and removed the tag, and I think I'll just DIY the back of this so I don't have to cover up all the writing on the other side. So I just removed the tag, and then I went in with some just some cheap contact paper from the Dollar Tree to cover the writing on the other side. I guess you could leave it as a two-way sign if you wanted to. I wanted mine to have kind of a finished back. So I cut off a piece of that contact paper larger than the haunted house itself and simply smoothed that onto the back. That way, when I go to paint this, make it look like a haunted house, I don't have to worry about covering up all of the words on there, and the back is just going to be a cleaner surface for me to craft. I kind of cut off the excess material and then use a sanding sponge to get a perfect cut. There's a lot of roof line going on the sides on this, and so a little tricky to get around all of those places. I found it a little bit easier just to go in with my scissors and cut it as close as I can to the house before I go in there with my sanding sponge to get a perfect cut. But I always like to have a finished back on my project if I can. So that's one reason why I did that step for sure. Now, I had a plan to try to decorate this, make it look like a little haunted house. We can use some items that I got at Dollar Tree to decorate it as well. I thought the haunted house should be black, so I went ahead and painted the entire thing with just some black acrylic paint. It had a purple base stand on it, which is kind of cool, but kind of took away from my haunted house, so I'm going to go ahead and paint that black as well. But as you can see how easy it was to paint it since I used the back of it instead of the front. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the stand, also kind of distressing the edges of it as well, like that. And I also want to paint the stand in the back, but I don't want it to get all over my contact paper. So I did use a little bit of painter's tape back here to protect that while I painted the back of my stand black as well. I thought that would look really creepy for a haunted house. And then we could add some other textures too. I mixed some black and white paint together to make it gray we can distress it with. And I also wanted to try to do a door. I found these stickers at the Dollar Tree, and this large arch sticker I thought would make a perfect door. It is gold though, and I wanted mine to be more of a gray or a silver. So I went ahead and painted the sticker gray, and I kind of liked the metallic look of it before, so I'm also going to add a little metallic to that too. I use that same gray paint to distress my black haunted house just by kind of dragging, dry brushing that along in one direction, not too thick for distressing to make it look old and weathered. And then I also went over my little plastic door. I think it's kind of a window, but we're going to make it a door with some silver acrylic paint to make it look metallic and shiny too. And then I can peel and stick. Now, these stickers are really sticky, but I thought I would reinforce it by adding a little hot glue here in the back to make the door for a haunted house. You could also build that out with some popsicle sticks if you don't have any of those stickers. For the windows, I found these great little wooden windows on Temu. I thought these would be great for crafting. As you can see, there's all different ones inside this package. If I can find the link, I'll put that in the description. But, you know, Temu things kind of sell out all the time, but you should be able to find them on there. And I'm trying to decide which windows. I was trying to decide if I wanted to do like variety. I really kind of like the kind of rectangular shaped ones. I think those kind of look creepy for a haunted house. And then I definitely wanted to do a different window for the attic. For the roof line, I'm going to use some more wood. I have some of these little bamboo sticks I get on Amazon. I have these linked in my Amazon shop. They are great for crafting. You could also use popsicle sticks for this, but I wanted some wood here for little bump outs for the roof line. So I went ahead and cut 2 pieces of those down, just cutting those down with my miter scissors for the roof line. Over here, the roof kind of goes the other direction, which makes it a little bit more complicated, but I'm just going to kind of follow the roof line like I did before, cutting 3 pieces down to cover that. On the side, as you can see, there's 2 different sets of roof lines, and I decided to kind of ignore those because it got a little complicated. And I thought it'd be fun to have all these little bump outs on our haunted house to make it a little bit more 3 dimensional. Now, for the wood itself, I just go ahead and stain the bamboo pieces with some antique wax by Waverly. And I'm also going to stain the windows that color. Just kind of blotting that excess stain, and then I'm going to attach them to our haunted house with some glue here. And I really like the little bump out portions. I definitely love those windows. I picked those up because I thought they'd be really good for like fairy gardens and stuff like that too, but they're perfect for a haunted house. And I am just going to glue all of my roof line on. These are my windows. I accidentally spilled all of my antique wax by Waverly over there, but I was able to clean it up and still use it. And I can put the rest of it back in the jar. Ah, I hate spilling stuff like that, especially antique wax by Waverly. Very messy. But I went ahead and stained all of these pieces, and now I can hot glue these on. This is going to be my little attic window up here. We can do 2 windows for the second story. I thought it'd be cute to have a little ghost peeking out of one of them. So I just used my white paint pen and drew a simple little ghost on there. And it was a little blotchy, so I went in and filled it in with some white acrylic to make that white really pop against the black haunted house. A very simple little ghost. You could also use like a little ghost sticker or maybe even like a window cling. But a ghost is really easy. Just draw on 2 little oval black eyes, and I can have him peeking through my window, which I think is really cute for the haunted house theme. And we're going to glue this on. I really like the black and the stained wood together. I think that looks really cute. The silver door down below too goes well with it. And then I'm just going to simply hot glue all of my windows on. You could always have another monster peeking out if you wanted to. And then I thought we could board up one of the windows. I thought that would be cute. So I'm going to do that with just a popsicle stick. I'm going to cut down a longer piece and we can kind of crisscross this. I don't want to overlap it. So the other direction, I just cut down 2 smaller pieces. And these are just the popsicle sticks that you get at the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to go ahead and paint those gray to kind of match the distressing of the haunted house and to kind of be different than the stained wood. And so I just kind of painted those, kind of staining the popsicle stick and attaching those with hot glue. I think I'll board up this bottom window, and that looks really cute for a haunted house theme. And then I thought it'd be cute to cover the entire haunted house with spider webs. So I picked up some of the spider webs from the Dollar Tree and just grabbed a piece, just stretching that out, making it look thin and creepy. I'm going to go around the roof line here, wrap that around the house, can wrap it around this side of the roof, and then just have the web covering the entire house. I think that's going to look really creepy. Just using the different angles and corners of the house to kind of catch the webbing on. And then I can kind of gather it all together here on the back and tack it down with a little bit of hot glue so it stays in place. But it definitely gives it that creepy haunted house feel. And we can always add a spider to that as well. I really like the vibe that gives it. Then to decorate it, I'm going to use some of the little Halloween fairy garden items. This package has a witch in it, so I thought that would be really cute. That can be her little house, so she can be right here on the porch. And then I have a little jack-o'-lantern with a black cat peeking out. I thought that would be cute. And then there's a little Halloween sign here. I think that would be perfect for the porch. So I'm going to hot glue these all in place using the ledge as the porch of the haunted house. And then I'm also going to add a little brown floral moss to make it look creepy in between all the little pieces. And for the rest of the ledge, just gluing little pieces of that to it. And I really love how this turned out. I'm really glad I picked up this little Halloween sign. I thought I could make it into something really cute. And the fact that it already has the base in it just makes it a little bit easier to make a standing sign. I like my witch, but she has some bright orange hair and a bright orange bow, which I thought I could tone down a little bit. So I used my gray paint pen and went in and gave her gray hair instead of the bright orange, just personal preference. I like my little witches to have gray hair. And then I am just going to kind of touch her up a little bit. I made the bow green, but then I thought maybe black would it look even better. So I went over that with a black paint pen, and I like how she looks now. Now for the spider, used some of these little spiders I got on Amazon. They're just little tiny spiders, and I glue one large one small one on there to kind of explain the spider webs going over the entire haunted house. And this is how it turned out, our little haunted house sign. Using supplies from the Dollar Tree, the windows were from Temu, and the bamboo was from Amazon. So a few stores to put this together, but I really love how it turned out. I think it's so fun and perfect for Halloween. What do you guys think about my little haunted house DIY? I really hope you enjoyed these new Halloween DIYs. Please let me know down in the comments below which DIY was your favorite, or just come say hello. You can find me at Crafty Beach on YouTube on all social media. And this is also my QR code if you would like to buy me a coffee. I would really appreciate it. Enjoy the final reveal. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of my video. That helps so much as a YouTuber. And I also want to thank all of my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you so much to Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Maren Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Donna Tanner, Kim Rogers, Red Mama, Powell Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Mindy Hupp, Jenny, and Debbie Austin. I appreciate you guys so much. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach member, all you have to do is hit the join button on your phone or your computer. Next to today's video, you're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube, a badge next to your name when you comment down below, and a shout out in every video. It's $4.99 a month and you're free to cancel at any time. And we would love to see what you've been crafting. Be sure to share your DIYs with us in my private Facebook group linked in the description of today's video, as well as chapters for all of my DIYs. Would you like even more Halloween crafting inspiration? Be sure to check out one of these DIY videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting for Halloween.